Hey everyone, today I'm going to have a look at Battlefield 2042 running on the ROG Ally and Legion Go, and I must admit I am continuously impressed with how well things are running on the Legion Go. Starting off with 1200p here, 30 watts custom TDP and low preset. You'll notice that we do actually hold over 40 frames per second for the most part, even with all hell breaking loose, and this is a full-on 32 vs 32 map. I haven't tried 64 versus 64 as generally even on major PCs that causes more problems, but 32 player each side map, so 64 players total, we are running absolutely fine here. So it does dip into the 30s occasionally, but for the most part it sticks around 40 and is super smooth. I really didn't notice any issues. You will notice issues with my aiming though, as I am testing it out just on the controller mode. But if you were to connect the keyboard and mouse to either of these systems, then you are going to have an absolute blast. Well, I say that, except when we come onto the ROG Ally, as that's been quite disappointing recently. But this is also running the Beta 28WW BIOS on the Legion Go with the Beta graphics driver as well. So switching over to 900p on the ROG Ally with 30 watts, unfortunately we get a very different feel of the game. Even at 30 watts, even when the APU is pushing over 30 and 40 watts, this really struggles to even hold over 30 frames per second. And you'll notice the frames per second, frame time, and APU wattage is just completely all over the place. This is the latest official BIOS that was only released around a week ago for the ROG Ally, as well as the latest available AMD graphics driver. And unfortunately, this is just not playable. And even when we drop this down to 720, it really is an issue on the ROG Ally. Now, this seems to have been a problem for the last few BIOS and just with the ROG Ally in general, that performance really hasn't been up to scratch really since it launched, and it just seems to be getting worse. So as you can see, as I've dropped it down to 720, we do get a little bit more stability, and it says that we get around 60 frames per second at that 30 watts. But as soon as we start loading into new areas or we start getting to some of the action, that frames per second plummets again, and the frame time and FPS is just completely all over the place, and it's an absolute stutterfest. So unfortunately, I would not recommend playing Battlefield 2042 on the ROG Ally. It just really doesn't seem to be up to it, and this is running off the SSD as well, so I'm not sure why that is such an issue. But if we do the same thing on the Legion Go and now switch over to 720, as it doesn't seem to have 800p for some reason, and also dial this up to the medium graphic settings, you'll notice that actually we managed 60 frames per second for the most part on the Legion Go, and it now looks a lot better as well. Again, we do get some dips, but you'll see that we don't have any major stutter issues. It's still super smooth even when that frames per second drops down. And as we come into big areas of battle again and a huge amount of players concentrated in one area, you'll notice again it's still smooth, and we keep that frames per second much closer to 60 and at 60 most of the time. So the Legion Go really is surprising, and with the size of the screen on the Legion Go as well, it makes running this much simpler as well. And it just looks absolutely gorgeous. Even at the 720, especially with those medium graphics, it still looks really good on the Legion Go screen, but it does look a lot better at 1200p if you can manage that 40 to 50 frames per second. If you've got both devices, are you seeing similar performance differences? We're seeing this quite regularly across a lot of the devices, which is a huge surprise considering it's the same APU in both of these devices, although the Legion Go does have better RAM. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.